The New England Football Show presented by Mortgage Right. I'm your host, John Sarianides. And as always, I have the good fortune to be joined by my partner, Kevin Stone, who I think the last time he did this show, he was like 35 or something. Stone, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
Since before Denver, right?
I believe so. I think the week before the AFC Championship game was the last time we saw your beautiful face on the New England Football Show.
I'm sure everyone missed me so much, but I'm doing good, man. It's what a weekend, to say the least.
It was, and it's interesting. I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying how awesome it was that we were able to get out there and cover the game, and that they appreciated our coverage, and it means a lot to hear that, because I think in a lot of ways, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this, we started this thing, we paired up 6 years ago last month. I started this thing in the fall of 2019, and it's been a long road, and it's hard, especially in a state like Massachusetts, which is a tough state to build a business in. And I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just being honest. It's been a long road for us. And I think the one thing that I thought a lot of this weekend was that it meant so much to me personally to be there as someone who's, recently within the last 5 years lost both my parents, and I know how proud of me they are, and how proud they would have been if they were still here that I was out there. I know how proud your family is of you being able to go out there and cover the game. And I think it says so much about our company and our business. And in this business, as you know, it's so important to have a place at the table. And when you're out there covering the Super Bowl, that's the ultimate dinner table. That's the ultimate reservation, if you will, in our industry. That's where you want to be. And I think for us, it's validation for our hard work. It's validation of our company. And I think what it validates is that, yes, we can be a place where Patriot fans can get additional Patriots content and unique content. We're not always going to follow the same pattern others might and do similar content. Obviously, there'll be certain things that we're going to have to do, breaking news, certain stories that everyone's going to do. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to provide some unique, different Patriots coverage. And I say it all the time. And I know sometimes I feel like you get annoyed with me when I say this, but, there's a lot of great outlets that cover the Patriots in this market. We work with some incredibly talented people. There's a lot of great Patriot information out there for Patriot fans. We just want to be a part of that for fans. We just want to be a place where they could say, all right, I went to the Globe, I went to the Herald, I went to NBC Sports Boston. Let me go over and see what the New England Football Journal guys think. So I hope that we're that outlet for you guys. Again, everybody that covers the team, I believe, are talented, creative people that do a great job, and we just want to be a part of that. And I think that going out there this weekend and covering that game was certainly validation of that in my view. I don't know if you felt the same way.
100%. And fittingly, on the way to the airport, we were both talking about next year. So everything you said, I couldn't agree more. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be out there for the week, and to say it exceeded expectations tenfold. Obviously interviewing Pat McAfee, Tony Dungy, Mike Florio, even Tony Khan, which, as a wrestling guy is pretty cool. And he was great. Talked to Liam Cohen with him, and some other stuff with the craft. So incredible opportunities. Literally just walking around Radio Row, especially Wednesday and Thursday. Just you see a new star every 2 minutes. Michael Irvin here. I can't think of name. Kay Adams, in one corner, and Stephen A. Smith, Mad Dog Russo, like obviously all names that you've known for a long, long time in the media business. So, and speaking of support, obviously you were just on with Joe Murray on 98.5. He's been fantastic to us, and we owe him a thank you for that as well. But and I thanked you on the way here, on the way back. Excuse me. I would have never had that opportunity if we didn't start this, a handful of years ago. So it was crazy. I wish we saw a win. I think we both would have loved to have been in that locker room and not these somber podiums that we were post game after the 25-minute walk. But it was unreal. And now I just hope we can go back to one and see a win.
Yeah, that would be nice. Now, before we do get started here, and we've already got the comments coming in, and we do want to get to those, I do want to remind you that we are brought to you by Mortgage Right. If you're looking to sell your current home, purchase your next home, purchase your first home, or refinance, then you need to give our good friend Herb Devine a call at 781-254-2846. You can also email him at herb@mortgageright.com. With over 28 years of experience, Herb has the knowledge and the know-how to help you in this process. The spring real estate season is around the corner. It'll be here before you know it. It usually starts middle to end of February. So if you're looking to enter the market in the spring, which is traditionally the busiest time of the year, you need someone like Herb Devine in your corner. Again, that number is 781-254-2846, or you can email him at herb@mortgageright.com. He and his team are available anytime, including nights and weekends. All right, so we talked about going to the Super Bowl and how much it meant to us and how much of a fun opportunity it was for us, opportunity of a lifetime to cover the big game. But in the end, the big game did not go the way that we all wanted to for the New England Patriots. We were hoping that we would see them win championship number 7, bring the 7th Lombardi trophy back home here in New England. It did not happen. And, you know, I was just on with Joe Murray on 98.5, and I don't want to take anything from the Seattle Seahawks. They're a good football team. Admittedly, I underestimated them. When they beat the Rams, I was very public in my opinion that I thought they were a better matchup for the Patriots than the Rams. In retrospect, I was wrong. They're a pretty damn good football team. Mike McDonald, pretty damn good football coach. He's 38 years old, and he's already an elite top 5 coach in the best league in the world. All of that being said, and I'm not saying this to be sour grapes. I'm not saying this because I'm in denial. I'm saying this because I believe it. Seattle did a lot of good things in this game, Kevin, but this game in a lot of ways to me came down to what the Patriots didn't do. I thought Josh McDaniels' game plan, not good. I thought defensively they played well enough. They kept you in the game, held them to 9 points in the first half, kept them out of the end zone until the early stages of the fourth quarter, and yet you couldn't capitalize on that. And I think at the end of the day, what this comes down to me is I'm not going to sit here and say that this team wasn't prepared, because in my heart of hearts, I don't believe a Mike Vrabel coached football team isn't prepared. And I know sometimes Vrabel can get annoyed with me when I ask questions like I did the other night about their physicality and did they do things that they hadn't seen. But when you watch that game, Kevin, that's what it looked like to me from my perspective. I've been coaching football 32 years. I'm not some guy that just does media and doesn't know the ins and outs of the game and how it works. I've coached college football. I've coached high school football. I haven't coached in the NFL. So that's another level. But my point is, I know the game. And what I saw was, I saw an offensive line, because going into the game, we said this, right? We said that whichever one of these teams can win the trenches on both sides of the ball is more than likely going to win this football game. Well, obviously, Seattle dominated up front on defense. So they did that in resounding fashion. But in my opinion, I thought that their offensive game plan was poor. I thought the offense was all over the place. Defense played well enough to keep you in it. Unfortunately, they broke in the end. But the bottom line is, this game comes down to one thing for me, and that is the Seattle Seahawks were the better football team. They were the better coached football team on that day, but they were also a team that, to me, looked like a team that had a chip on their shoulder, because during the course of the week, it almost seemed like they were the forgotten team. You can't tell me Mike McDonald didn't use that as motivation. This team was hungry to prove that they were as good as the national media said they were.
So a few things. I saw some stuff today, actually, the first time I really had a chance to go back and look at some of the game. And all night long, you and I were obviously sitting with each other, and it seemed like guys just weren't getting open. It's really not true. They were. Obviously, Drake didn't have a ton of time, but there's got to be some accountability for not reading stuff very well. And obviously, as you were saying, he sped up. You were saying this throughout the game. He's obviously sped up. And I don't want to say the moment was too big, But look, I'm a big believer in the atmosphere, in that stadium. That was truly a Seahawks home game, and
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
sure they expected it.
yep.
Now,
They
obviously,
purchased what I think roughly 70% of the tickets in that game.
yeah, I mean, how early from the time we left the Uber in the morning do you hear those Seahawks chants? You could hear it throughout the entire kind of area around the stadium. So I wonder if that atmosphere sort of rattled them. Obviously, they wore the white jerseys and they played up that whole road warrior thing all year, but I don't know in a Super Bowl that you can expect the atmosphere to be that one sided. You always hear it's a corporate crowd. So I wonder if that was part of it. Again, I don't want to say the moment was too big because you were still only down by 12 near midfield with 8 minutes left, and we had the ball. So I think it was just a combination of Seattle being overly prepared isn't the right word because there's no such thing, but they were as prepared as humanly possible in terms of reading tells and knowing everything that the Patriots were going to do or think that they were going to do. So it was a bad night for a lot of people. I think Will Campbell, first and foremost, and to his credit, he owned up to it fully today. So just a bad night overall, one of those nights. And you just hope that they do have a chance to get back there because they're all still so young. So you still should have plenty of opportunity to redeem yourselves and kind of write your own story.
It's interesting because in championship games, it's so important to get off to a good start, but it's also important to lower your heart rate. It's also important to not let the environment get to you, to be in control. You didn't get the sense right out of the gate. Okay, Patriots win the coin toss, they defer. Seattle takes the ball, they go right down and kick the field goal. They took control of that game on offense. As dominant as their defense was, they took control of that game on offense by setting that early tone, getting those early points, showing this defense, which, by the way, played well enough for you to win, big picture. But in that moment, Seattle showed the Patriots defense that, hey, we have a plan. We're going to move the ball on you. As good as you've been with your 8.7 points per game, we think we're good enough with our plan that we can move the ball on you and score points. Patriots on offense, first possession, they come out, 21 personnel, they're running the ball. You're thinking to yourself, whoa, wait a minute here. That Seattle team is amongst the best in the league at stopping the run. McDaniels is clearly saying, we don't care. We're going to set a physical tone here. The problem is you didn't set that physical tone. And then even when you were in the game, you're down 3-0, 6-0, 9-0 at the half. You're within striking distance. But even with that being the case, you abandoned the running game to put your quarterback, who was banged up, okay? And I'm not going to do what other people in this market have done today, question his toughness, and he's got to play through it, and all this other bullshit. People that have never played quarterback, that have never coached a quarterback, that have no idea what football players play through, are now lecturing Drake May on how he has to play through things. He did play through it. He played the game. The bottom line is it impacted him. Now, he didn't play well. He made some poor decisions. He missed some open throws, but he wasn't healthy. Will Campbell, topic of conversation, gives up the 14 pressures on Sunday night, one of the worst offensive tackle performances in Super Bowl history. Okay? Well, he had an MCL tear, and he was playing through it. What did I tell you the week of the Miami game? We were in that locker room. We talked, and I told you verbatim, I would be surprised if Will Campbell played in the playoffs, or at least played in the first playoff game against the Chargers. And B, I didn't think he was 100%. Now, I don't know if you remember that or not because you suck at remembering things. But my point is, I didn't think he looked ready. And clearly he wasn't. And it's that time of year, right? Because at that time, we were also saying that had they not made the playoffs, they probably would have shut him down for the year and tried again next year. I'm not making excuses for the guy. The injury was real, and it was a problem. He did not play well. And it's not just that he had an MCL tear, Kevin. His fundamentals sucked. His hands were too tight to his body. His head was down. He played with poor balance, poor lean. He tries to vertical set guys too much, and then when he doesn't, he opens his outside hip, and he gives them a clear path to the quarterback. He doesn't have the length and athleticism to ward guys off when they put pressure on him and take the corner. There's a lot that you could look at that performance, and I watched every single snap he played in that game the last 2 days. And I can tell you this, fundamentally, yes, he did not play a good game. He played a poor game fundamentally, but he was also hurt. And in Seattle's defense, their edge guys, they might not be Will Anderson. They might not be Jason Owe. They might not be Nick Bonito, but they're pretty damn good. Hall is a damn good football player that can get to the quarterback. And so I think what we need to do is we need to take a step back and look at this objectively. And I said this to you on Sunday. I think Vrabel got every last drip of milk out of this cow. That was it. He maxed his talent out. He maxed out the talent of this football team. They weren't as good as the Seahawks. The Seahawks were the better football team. They were well coached. They had a good plan. They executed their plan. The Patriots did not. It literally comes down to that. It's as simple as that. And I think we have to take it at face value. Now, all that being said, and I want to get your thoughts on this, I'm a firm believer, and again, I'm going to sound like a douchebag here with what I'm about to say, and I'm going to sound like I'm in denial, but I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are playing in this game if the San Francisco 49ers are fully healthy, if the Green Bay Packers are fully healthy, if the Philadelphia Eagles hadn't forgot how to play offense. I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are in this game. And I know that that's a take that a lot of other people aren't going to agree with, and that's fine. I don't care what people think. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, if those teams are fully healthy, I think the Patriots are playing someone else on Sunday. I don't think they're playing the Seattle Seahawks because as well as they played on Sunday, I still don't think they're a great football team that 10 years from now we're going to remember. We're going to remember the Patriots' futility in this game more than we're going to remember this Seahawks team.
I'll start there. You know what? No, I'll back up. Will Campbell.
Well, I'll start by taking the cap off my water bottle.
Yes, I wasn't going to say anything.
No, you should. Whenever you have an opportunity to stick it to me like that, you should.
I was trying to forward my Will Campbell take. I can't match your old line talk with Joe Murray. But look, Will Campbell, he's 22, and I know that was sort of the running joke today. That's all anybody was saying was he's 22, he's 22. But he is. He's going to learn. And to your point, he's going to get stronger. And if you're going to play through a torn ligament, we saw, again, to your point, we saw how bad that looked just walking around like on a random Wednesday when we were in there. So, and look, that goes for a lot of guys too. To your other point about playing through stuff, we've seen some stuff in there, to say the least. So, look, for him, the criticism was warranted in terms of what it looked like. I don't think you're going to see that from him very often. He feels like a kid who's going to get better, who's going to learn.
He is going to get better. He's mature beyond his years. He's tough. He cares. He loves the game. Well, you could sit there and say, I don't blame the kid for not wanting to talk to the media after the game. It wasn't the right thing to do. I'm not condoning what he did, skipping out on media availability. It is part of his job. But I do think that when you listen to him talk today, I thought he was pretty reflective. I still think, yes, he can be sensitive. I've said that. I said that to you in Lions the other night. He can be sensitive. I totally agree with that if that's your opinion of the way he acts. But again, at the risk of sounding like Mike Vrabel, he's 22. They're kids, man. Drake May's 23. These aren't guys that are 30, 35 years old that have been around the block and have done a couple of laps. They're kids. I mean, they have a lot of pressure on them. They're going to act like kids every now and then.
No, to his point, he said today, look, I'm paid a lot and I was picked high. I think his exact line was, I don't expect people to come up to me and say, it's okay, good job, buddy. Like, I love that line from him. So he's plenty self-aware to know why he's getting the criticism he's getting. So I'm not saying I had no problem.
Well, and not only that, but imagine being him, though. I mean, you sucked on the biggest stage there is in your sport. You sucked for a period of time on the biggest stage in your sport. And I don't mean to be harsh when I say that in those terms.
No, it's reality.
But he would tell you, he did tell you that. He wasn't good. It's reality. So that's not easy to deal with. That's why you have sports psychologists.
Correct. But I also think he has the right people around him in terms of the quarterback and the coach, first and foremost.
Yeah, they'll have his back.
Correct. So just in terms of going forward too with him, you need him to be in terms of being a leader, maybe not David Andrews, but something like it. So the fact that he started the way that he did today, accountability first and foremost is huge. So they drafted him to be that kind of guy as well. Like it's supposed to be him and Drake leading the way for a long time. So I thought today was a very important step in sort of correcting everything that happened on Sunday.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Let's take a look at some of the comments that we've had coming in here. We appreciate you guys checking in as always. Ken Matthias checks in. He says, "Hey, gents, great stuff all season. How was the trip to San Francisco despite the Patriots' loss? Appreciate what you guys do week in and week out." Thanks, Ken. We appreciate you checking in as always. Scott checks in. He says, "Hey, boys." Hey, Scott. Good to hear from you as always, man. Hope you're doing well. He says, "That was a tough one." Yeah, it was. Look, I mean, it's easy to look at it and say we thought it was going to play out differently. We thought the Patriots were the better team, yada, yada, yada. But I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is they did lose to the better team. The Seahawks were the better team. The thing we need to keep in mind is this Seahawks team was constructed over the course of the last 5 years by John Schneider. It wasn't an overnight thing. He added Darnold as the final piece, if you will. But Schneider had the wherewithal to say Pete Carroll was getting old. The message was getting stale. He wasn't winning at the clip that he was earlier in his tenure here. It's time to move on. Brings in Mike McDonald, who is a very, very impressive young man and a very impressive coach. And in year two, with 40-1 odds, Mike McDonald wins the Super Bowl. But I will say this. The reason I bring that up is that illustrates Schneider, again, has been building this roster over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. That illustrates just how impressive of a job Mike Vrabel did this year with this Patriots team going 17-4. I mean, to win 17 games in your first year with this football team, that is damn impressive, man. And this is why I think a lot of people are so quick to get negative, Kevin. But I truly, genuinely believe with this football team that the future is bright. They're not going anywhere, man. They're only going to add to this. And the one thing you could say about Mike Vrabel is he's not going to look at this and say, all right, I need to go shopping and bring in all these veterans to augment the roster because we're too young and we need household names that have been there before to help us get to the top. He's not going to do that. He's going to stay the course. He's going to stay the course. He's his own boss. Yeah, he works for Robert Kraft, but he's the final decision maker. And so I think that's huge. He is going to stay the course, and he is going to build this roster through the draft. He's going to supplement what they have through the draft, but he's also going to take a page out of Bill Belichick's book. He's also going to bring in that 1 or 2 veterans that may not necessarily be household names, but are going to step in and help this football team.
You should keep 2 of them, too. We've talked about this a lot. Jason and Hawkins should be here. Excuse me, on defense. So, look, overall, I think Stephon Diggs is a huge question. I think he's the biggest question of the offseason on offense.
Well, I mean, I think now that him and Cardi B are done, what's his value if Cardi B's not around?
Sorry, as I take a sip of water.
Why are you taking a sip when we're talking about Diggs and Cardi B? Can you take a sip earlier when we weren't talking about as much of a relevant topic?
So it's funny. I actually almost brought this up to you on Saturday after your airplane debacle. There was a good luck message from her to him, I think in NFL Honors, and it was very cold. And I'm very in tune with all that stuff. And I kind of just thought,
wait a minute, hold on. You're very in tune with what? Pop culture?
Yes.
You're in tune with pop culture. When did that happen? Okay, I was going to say. All right. I couldn't, to be honest with you, and I guess this is a credit to you, I couldn't pick up the tinge of sarcasm there.
Impressive, isn't it? I did think that was odd. And come to find out, everything's going on that's going on. And I think his arraignment is this week, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that's sort of been forgotten about. So that's a huge question coming up. But I asked Drake May about him today, and it sounds like he really wanted him back. So that's obviously a conversation that's going to need to be had. But you don't have to do a ton in terms of free agency.
Well, let's save it for the end of the show. For a few minutes now. But anyway.
Just to go back to Ken's question about the trip, I haven't told you this either. Landing yesterday, plane hits the ground. goes right back up. Another plane had not cleared the runway yet. As you know, I don't fly very much. Scared the ever living shit out of me. So I just had to let everybody know that that happened yesterday.
Well, we're glad you and the other passengers are okay. And I hope that this doesn't deter you from wanting to fly again.
Well, no, but no, trip was great. Trip was awesome. San Fran is gorgeous. And as you know, again, I have not very well traveled. So seeing that area for a full week
Well,
was
for a long time, you only got out of Waltham and went to surrounding towns. So
Bill Rickett too. But
my bad.
no, it was awesome.
Scott says you guys attended the game. We did. We covered the game on Sunday, Scott. And again, we were excited for that opportunity. And it's certainly something that, for us here at New England Football Journal, we don't take lightly. I mean, we know that we're a source of coverage and information, an additional source, because as I've said all along, you have a lot of great options in this market. But, yep, we were there, and it was a great experience. Unfortunately, like we said to start the show, we wish that the game turned out differently. Lauren Gaudette checks in. She says, it was basically that Mike Tyson quote, "You have a plan until you get punched in the mouth," Tyson said. As much as the defense did well most of the game, they never made a big play either. I think that's a very good point. Your defense couldn't tilt field position, which I talked about on X during the game. That was a problem because when you look at their average starting field position, it was roughly around the 35, 38-yard line. Your defense played well, but they didn't generate that key turnover to give you a short field to work with, and they didn't tilt field position, i.e., pin them back, get you the ball around midfield so you can have a shorter field to work with. When you have an offense that lacks the big play capability that the Patriots offense lacks, you need shorter fields. Patriots defense, as well as they played to keep you in the game, they couldn't also give you that short field to work with. And I know sometimes defensive coaches get butthurt when offensive coaches say that, but defensive coaches are very braggadocious, and they talk about defense wins championships, and they always remind you of their importance. But I'm always quick to remind them, well, if you think you're so awesome and you're the reason we're winning, then make sure you do your job to get me the ball at a place where I can score points so you can keep walking around pounding your chest and telling the world you're awesome. So, unfortunately, the Patriots defense did not help their offense in that regard, but they did help them by keeping them in the game. Scott checks back in. Go ahead, Stone.
No, go ahead real quick.
He says, I wish they had thrown short passes to get the ball out of Drake's hands quickly. Look, I'm a firm believer in getting your quarterback into a rhythm early, and the way you do that is 3-step, 5-step, perimeter screens, play action, easy throws to get the ball out quick and get them going. They didn't do that, but I also think at the end of the day, this illustrates, and we've talked about this in the past, and hopefully it's not as much of an issue next year, but May was very jittery early in games. You definitely saw it on Sunday, but I think you saw it a lot during this season. Psychologically, he has got to work through that, so that is not an issue early in games for him moving forward.
On that, I go back to the atmosphere. I really do. I think they were so shocked. What's that?
You love atmosphere. You should have been an effing scientist.
Well, no. Believe me, I took a weather class. That was bad enough.
Hey,
I really did.
If you want a real laugh, I took a bartending course and I don't even drink.
That's right too.
The things you'll do when you're young to make money.
Going back to flipping the field, we talked about Bryce Behringer on our preview show that morning. I thought early on he was really good, but Seattle just kind of marched downfield. On the flip side, there were turnovers to be had. The defense just couldn't really get home, and Gonzalez probably should have picked that ball off. In real time, you and I both said, holy shit, what a pass breakup. But when you go back and watch it, he probably should have caught it. You take 3 points off the board there before the half. And then just, little mistakes from guys that wouldn't normally do it. Marcus Jones, when you make that stop and he could have fielded that punt that ended up pinning you back. I think that was late in the third, maybe after you were trying to get momentum. I think that might be the drive you actually ended up scoring on to Mac, if I'm not mistaken. But, you and I were in that end zone and you were adamant about you have to field that ball. Little stuff like that. So,
yep.
They did have
that was a key play late in the game because again, you cannot end up taking the chance to allow that ball to get inside the 5. If it doesn't go in the end zone for a touchback, now you're looking at going 95 yards plus to score. And I think it's those little things in football and in championship games. And let's not kid ourselves. The Seattle Seahawks don't have championship pedigree. It's not like anybody on that team has ever won anything. Bottom line is, when it counts the most, you've got to make those little plays, and you've got to pay attention to those little details. Patriots didn't do it. They didn't make the big plays they needed to. Seattle did. And they didn't make the little plays they needed to either, i.e. those types of situations that could change field position for the offense.
Yeah, and just the penalty on the punt return as well. You would have had the ball in the midfield at one point.
Huge. That was huge.
So just little stuff like that throughout the night.
Lauren Gaudet says, John, you messed up the game playing with that water bottle. I got you, Stone. I got you, Stone. All right. Good friend Bill Vaughn checks in. We haven't heard from Bill in a while. Bill, great to hear from you. He says, great season covering the team. Hopefully you guys take a few weeks off to recharge.
I wish.
Because of Sunday, I guess kind of surprised to see the Bills are favored ahead of the Pats to win Super Bowl next season. Thoughts? Bill, great to hear from you as always, my friend. I don't want any time off. I love this damn game too much. It's an obsession. I'm on to recruiting. I can't wait for spring ball. I'm on to profiling high school kids. I can't wait to doing profiles on high school kids, I should say.
You work in a school.
And I'm excited about the start of the NFL draft and getting that process going and getting to know the local prospects. So I love this stuff too much to take some time off. You know, my hope is maybe during April vacation week, we can get away for a little bit. Of course, that's a week of the draft, so Stone's going to love that. But no, I'm excited to just keep going. You know, our moniker is all football all the time, and I think that it's a true labor of love. So, and that's the beauty of football now. It's year round. As far as the Bills is concerned, I know a lot of people are talking about them and the Ravens bouncing back. I have the opposite view of things here. They're both going to have first-year head coaches. Now, again, you could sit there and say, look at the job Mike McDonald just did. Look at the job Mike Vrabel just did. Mike Vrabel in his first year. But I think at the end of the day, they're still going to be first-year head coaches. And, oh, by the way, they're going to be first-time head coaches. Mike Vrabel, this is his second go-around. So I'm not so sure those teams are going to be as good as people think they are, at least right out of the gate. When I look at the landscape in the AFC, Kevin, I think it's wide open again next year. I'd be surprised if Mahomes is ready by week one. Look, I know people like to pretend he's Superman, but he tore 2 ligaments. That's not an easy recovery. So I'd be surprised if he were back by week one. I think the Bills and the Ravens are going to have some growing pains. The Bengals are the Bengals. You know they'll get off to a slow start. The Chargers should be better now with Mike McDaniel there. They'll have both of their tackles back, so they'll be healthier. But outside of those teams, are you nervous about the Mike McCarthy-led Pittsburgh Steelers, even if they run it back with A-Rod? Can Jacksonville replicate what they did? First-year head coach, first-time head coach? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So when I look at the AFC, in a lot of ways, maybe at the start of the season, it may end up looking a lot like it did at the end of this past season.
Yeah, look, it starts with the division, right? And to your point, Buffalo, who knows? The Jets are probably going to be the Jets again. And good buddy Jeff Hafley is now in charge of Miami, but he doesn't really have a quarterback. Well, he does, but he might have a different one pretty soon. So you start there.
They've got a major decision on Tagovailoa.
Correct.
Or as Trump calls him, Tagovailoa.
So just lost my train of thought there. That was pretty good. You start there, so you're already looking at the very least at a home playoff game. Yes, you have a more difficult schedule, but this was year one of this entire rebuild, and you made it to the Super Bowl, so you're already ahead of schedule. You start the division, and to your point, the rest of the AFC, who knows? Buffalo's also opening a brand new stadium. Like, there's a little bit of pressure that comes with that in terms of every week at home. Yeah, you want to always win at home, but that's a little different than inaugural year after leaving such a historic building. So you're right. The AFC is wide open, but to going back to Bill's comment on the spring, no days off, as Belichick would say, but I'm a lacrosse guy too. So no days off for us.
Here we go. The yearly reminder that he's a lacrosse guy, yada, yada, yada.
Hey, I'm full-time with this too.
Scott checks back in. He said their punter had a game. He did. In fact, there were some people that thought Dixon should have been the MVP. So
either
there
him
you
or the
go.
field goal kicker. I forget his name.
Yeah. Now, Michael Dixon is their punter.
No, yeah, but I'm saying the field goal kicker could have had an argument too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he broke the single season.
Myers? No.
Myers, yeah, single season scoring record. Yeah. That was hilarious, John. No profiling. No profiling here. Scott says Mike Verbal, LOL. I listen.
You must have played that 45 times on Sunday.
It is one of the funniest things I've seen in the last couple of years. Look, the NFL, and we're privileged to be able to cover the league. Okay, we cover the New England Patriots, and in that regard, we cover the league. They go out of their way though to force it with certain things. You saw it on Sunday, and I'm not going to get into the Bad Bunny thing. Whatever. I know there was a lot of backlash here. All I know is 128 million people watched that halftime show. Almost 130 million people watched the game. But the way I see it, are they forcing it with when they put somebody like Bad Bunny on the halftime show? I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But at the end of the day, I feel like, and this is true with all these sports leagues, in the NFL's defense, they are hell-bent on cramming celebrities down our throats. The NHL has been guilty of that for years with their stupid award show. The NBA does it with the All-Star game and the stupid pickup basketball game that they're going to do this weekend. And baseball does it with their stupid celebrity softball game during All-Star weekend. Like, I don't need celebrities presenting award winners. I don't care if celebrities can play pickup basketball or softball. I would prefer not to see celebrities. My life would be better off if I didn't watch Justin Timberlake play shortstop in a celebrity softball game. And my life would be better off if I didn't see Tiffany Haddish butcher Mike Vrabel's name. And not only did she butcher it, but then she doubled down with the way she said it, which was even more idiotic. So she's holding a tablet, and it says Mike Vrabel on it, and she's like, Mike Vrabel, and it says Mike Vrabel. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then the best part of it was they show Kyle Shanahan, who many people thought was going to win the award. So I'm thinking the reason they're showing him is because they want to gauge his reaction. But the dude's like, who? Like, who is she talking about? And then instead of just letting it go, she says, Mike Vrabel is not with us tonight because he's getting ready for the Super Bowl. Like, why do you need her presenting Mike Vrabel as coach of the year? Just find a peer, a contemporary, a former player, somebody that's willing to get up there, or just have John Hamm do the awards. But there's no need to trot out these celebrities who don't care about football, probably don't watch it during the season. They don't care about any of these sports, or at least they pretend like they do so that they can connect with their fans. And then you have her butcher the name, and it becomes a meme, and then people are like, oh, that's not nice. That's racist. That's this, that's that. No, it's none of that. She's an idiot, and she came across as an idiot because it clearly says Vrabel, not Verbal. So I had to get that off my chest. And you're right. I have played it 1,000 times because it is so insanely stupid. It's hilarious.
So I'm with you on all of it. Look, I'm still old school in the sense
You're
that
paying attention more here than you did in class back in school.
Yeah, pretty much. As you know, I didn't watch a second of the halftime show. Wasn't my thing. I sat there and ate my sandwich. And
right. Well, I wouldn't say you ate your sandwich. You got a roast beef and pepperoncini sub, which, by the way, I do agree with you is an odd combo. But you got a roast beef and pepperoncini sub. You look at me and you ask me what pepperoncinis are.
Right.
I tell you. Then you proceed to pretend like you're a rabbit eating lettuce. You take a couple of nibbles of the roast beef, a couple of bites. You take out the pepperoncinis, and then you sit there and sulk because Bad Bunny was singing songs in Spanish. I don't know what to tell you.
I wouldn't say sulk. I was enjoying the chips, frankly. And you know they were very good.
What did you end up getting, by the way? The sea salt
Yeah.
or the vinegar chips?
Well, no, it was sea salt and vinegar.
Oh, okay. Well, no, you can't have both.
No, that's what it was.
They were sea salt and vinegar? I thought they had sea salt and vinegar as in two separate types of chips.
No, there were barbecue ones too.
Oh, yeah. I love their barbecue ones. And
Yeah.
it's that company, whatever the hell they're called, that does the kettle chips.
But Yeah.
By the way, that was disappointing. We weren't in the press box because we're not big enough time just yet. We still have a ways to go before we grow up and become press box worthy at the Super Bowl. They had us sit in the auxiliary press area. Press box had an unbelievable spread by all accounts. People that are in our media market that were up there said as much. We got a box sandwich and chips, like with an apple and a mediocre cookie. What are we doing here?
So look, the view was awesome, and I loved the fact that we could experience a crowd at the very least. I know you enjoyed that aspect as well. I tried not to complain at my first one, and I'm a big complainer.
Oh yeah, nobody whines more than you. I mean,
so
I'm not kidding, folks. Everything bothers him. You would have thought he was an Italian or a Greek. When you're Italian and Greek, everything bothers us. We're spazzy cultures by nature. That's why we get along so well. We're practically the same people.
Well,
I mean, Irish people and English people and Northern Europeans in general, they bitch, but they don't bitch to the level that we do. You are half Italian, so I guess it makes sense.
Correct. And on the peppercini, my late grandfather would kill me. He used to string up peppers and hang them around like the doorways during Christmas, like they were Christmas lights. So I should have known that. I did not. So
he's looking down right now, giving you the middle finger.
But no,
Kevin, are you dope?
That's legit. But I thought the press box where we were at was decent. Having to walk through the concourse with 50,000 people was not ideal.
Well, when you and I went to the bathroom about an hour before kickoff, obviously, as most people can suspect, I lost Stone.
Yeah, correct.
We got to the bathroom at the same time, and that was the end of my trip to the bathroom with Stone because he disappeared into oblivion, and I ended up coming out of the bathroom, and I met the guy, the freaking Puerto Rican guy who has people, Hispanic people that don't speak English say English words. I met him. I met him while you were lost and traipsing around trying to figure out where I was. I met the freaking Rican guy from Philadelphia, and we took a selfie.
No, I went to go get more food and water in case we couldn't trek down there again.
Yeah. I was holding my water for the rest of that game, man. I wasn't making. I felt like I climbed Everett, and I get it. I'm fat and old, but I wasn't doing that again. I'm like, this is the last time I'm going down there. The next time I'm going down there, that means we're getting the F out of here.
Yeah, and we left with 8 minutes left of the game. So best decision we ever made.
Yeah. Lauren checks back in. She says, I'm recovering from a minor surgery today, and the laughing is helping me feel good. Thanks, John. Well, Lauren, I'm glad we're making you feel good, my friend. Scott says, awesome stuff, guys. Appreciate your brother as always. Thank you for checking in as always. Lauren says, as much as the AFC seems to be open, Patriots need to still find the next level or two, free agency development of May, Campbell, etc. Yeah, I agree. And look, John Lyon said this, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. This offseason is not as important as the last two have been. Obviously, the last two were vitally important because 2 years ago, you ended up getting May. Last offseason, you got Vrabel. They're the foundational pieces to the turnaround. But this is an important offseason because, and John brought this up, and I think it's a good point. This is almost like that 2002 going into 03 offseason where you needed to bring in some of those key veterans like they brought in with Rodney Harrison to not only change the culture, but to help you get over the top. I think that's what you're going to see Mike Vrabel do this offseason is he's going to go out and try to find those key veteran pieces that he can plug in to help bring along these young guys, but to also bring some veteran leadership and production to the roster as well.
Yeah, you have to. But you also have to be careful about guys like Morgan Moses, who was fine for you this year, but he's another year older. Is he going to hold up? Like guys like that.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up because everybody wants to reshuffle the offensive line now, and they want to start over up front after Sunday. And I get it. They are going to have to make some decisions on guys like Garrett Bradbury and Morgan Moses. That being said, if you had asked me Sunday night, do I think they're moving on from a Garrett Bradbury? I probably would have told you yes. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not so sure they are. And why should they? I get your point about Morgan Moses, and it's a valid one. And he had his struggles at times this year, but he's cheap. He's $8 million a year. And who will be a better option for you at right tackle? Unless you decide we want to spend that money elsewhere, we're going to draft a rookie right tackle early, plug him in, and take our chances with him. You're probably not going to find a veteran per se that's going to be as good as Moses and is going to be cheaper. So I would stick with Morgan Moses for another year. I don't see them doing that much up front, other than maybe adding a veteran that can play both tackle spots. Vidarian Lowe's a free agent. He's more than likely gone. But outside of that, man, and I know Patriot fans don't want to hear this, I don't see them doing much else. They may end up moving on from Bradbury and slide Wilson over. Maybe you start Ben Brown at left guard next year. Maybe you take an offensive lineman early and they're in the mix. But if you're the Patriots, I don't think you can afford another year of a rookie learning on the job. You need experience. You need further development. So I don't see any scenario where they draft and plug and play a guy next season.
And to your point, Drake May talked about it today. He's excited to be part of the same offense again, which means you need to keep as much continuity as possible. I only bring up Morgan Moses because of the age. I'm not sure he can get to another full season. You got lucky this year for the most part. But, look, I love Bradbury. He was great to us as a company this year. But I'm with you. Again, it's an age thing. But I keep going back to the continuity. That QB center relationship is huge, as you well know. I think he's back for sure. Moses is sort of on the fence. And then, you hope you bring in maybe one or two guys in free agency, but they don't grow on trees, and they're coveted. So I'm with you.
That's why for all the people that are saying they want to kick Campbell inside a left guard and start over a left tackle, I would caution you to be careful what you wish for, because first of all, is there going to be a veteran option out there? Now, left tackles that are good are never available.
Well, and they tried to Ronnie Stanley
long term. What's that?
They tried to get Ronnie Stanley last year.
They did. And that didn't work out. He ended up resigning in Baltimore. So they did try to address it in free agency. But the other thing is, could there be someone like Laramie Tunsil, who was available last offseason and the Commanders ended up paying a boatload to get him? Could that veteran be out there? I've tried to think to myself, who could that guy be? I don't really have a guy right now that's top of mind that I could look at and say, yeah, you know what? I think that guy could end up being available. And even if he is, it doesn't matter anymore because Vrabel already said he's our left tackle next year. And quite frankly, to be honest with you, Kevin, I would rather ride it out with Will Campbell, despite what happened on Sunday, than kick him inside and start all over again with another left tackle, even if it's an established veteran left tackle that has played well in this league. I think if you stay the course with Campbell, you're going to get a good football player there. Look, if you kick him inside the left guard, man, I said this to you last year during the draft. I think you're getting an all-pro caliber left guard. He'll be a top 5 guard in this league. But I also think he can be a top 10, top 15 tackle in this league, which if you can get that kind of production out of your left tackle, you're going to take it because there's only so many of them that are good. So I think your only two options are overpaying for a veteran that's on the back nine, or drafting a rookie and doing what Houston did with Ariante Ursary and just throwing him into the fire. I don't think they're going to want to do that. They already did that with Campbell.
Yeah, and I love what Vrabel did today. Whether that's the right decision or not,
I love it.
Be seen, but I love just backing the player like that.
He backed the player up, and not only did he back up the player, but what he did is he put the onus on him now. He took the pressure off of Campbell. So if this decision doesn't work out, he's going to stand in front of us next season and say, it's on me. I'm 51 years old. I'm a man. I'm 51. I'm turning 51 tomorrow. So me and Vrabes are almost the same age. But he could sit up there and he can make it about him. He could say, hey, listen, we collectively as an organization, I made the decision to stick with him at left tackle. It didn't work out. It's on me. And I love that. I love that he put the emphasis on him. And I know some people are going to say, yeah, but that's his boy. He loves him, blah, blah, blah. That's not what he's doing here. What he's saying is, I'm not wasting my time talking about this anymore. We're not talking about it this offseason. Don't bother asking. He's our left tackle, and if it doesn't work out, I made the decision, come after me.
100%. And again, it just, you talk about, free agents want to come here. They hear that. A guy backing a rookie like that, he's not going to.
Backing his players,
Well, he's not going to throw him under the bus, obviously, but to come out and do it that adamantly, I thought was important.
Yep. Lauren checks back at you, says, what do you see for May's development for next year and beyond? Turnovers. I want to see him protect the ball better and continue to work on making better decisions. And the third thing I would say is anticipation. He still misses a lot of guys that are open. We saw it the other night. He misses Austin Hooper on the Seattle sideline on that crosser. He threw an awful ball to Hunter Henry on the RPO. He threw a bad ball on the interception by Julian Love. Conversely, you see the arm talent and the vertical accuracy. He also threw a ball on a rope into triple coverage for a completion. So obviously, he had an MVP caliber season. We know the talent is there. Got to protect the football. Got to play more under control, and he's got to anticipate better in terms of when guys are open. If he can work and fix those three things or get better, he's just going to take another step. But there's no doubt in my mind, he's a franchise quarterback. I still think he's the best quarterback in that 2024 class. I think when the dust settles, he will be the best quarterback in that 2024 class, even though people are now starting to fawn over the Iceman cometh Caleb Williams, and people still think Jane Daniels is going to be better. They're not. Drake May's better than both of those guys, and I think he's going to continue to prove it as we go along here. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, as bad as it looked the other night, I think the biggest thing this year, he sort of embraced that, okay, I'm the guy now role. Both on and off the field.
100%. And I think he needs to continue to do that, though.
Yeah.
And he knows he's the guy. I don't think that's the issue.
No,
but I do think
everything that comes with it, I think he finally realized.
Yeah, it's his team.
Yeah.
It's his team. And I think to your point, you saw it down the stretch where he's not a very emotional guy. He's
not
a very
lying either.
But he showed some emotion down the stretch, which was nice to see. And I think you're going to need a little bit more of that leadership, that fire from him next year. I want to see a little bit more juice out of him. I want to see him getting on guys. I want to see him on the sideline being that emotional leader. I mean, look, we all love Tom Brady, even though he had no dog in the fight. We all love Tom Brady. But at the end of the day, one of the things we loved about Tom Brady was his intensity, the passion that he played with on the sideline, encouraging guys, getting on guys when they weren't playing well, reminding them of what their obligation to the team was, coming out of the tunnel with the LFG and all this other stuff. I'm not saying he needs to do that stuff. I'm not saying he even needs to be Tom Brady. He needs to be himself. But I want to see a little bit more vinegar there. I want to see him getting on guys more, being more vocal, being more take charge. This is his football team now. He's the face of the franchise. He's got to be the man. Scott says you're on fire tonight, John. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He also comes back and says, protect May. If he had time the other night, it would have been a different game. He was rattled by the time. He did get a few seconds, spend money, and protect our MVP. I think that's a valid point in that, yes, he was jittery early, but it wasn't jitters the rest of the game from the second quarter on. I think he was antsy because he was getting hit. I think he was anticipating getting hit. He wasn't comfortable in the pocket. And I do think that might have led to him missing a couple of those throws. Again, I think his anticipation is off and it affects his vertical accuracy. He needs to work on that this offseason, anticipating route breaks and throwing guys open. But I do think there is something to be said, Kevin, for the fact that he was getting hit. He was sacked 6 times after all. He was getting hit, and I do think that made him a little bit leery in the pocket, and there was some hesitation there.
I'll go back to what I said near the beginning of the show. The more I look at it, again, we kept saying, man, guys just aren't getting open. But I think he was so rattled that even before the snap, he was thinking, I'm going to one guy and one guy only. And instead of kind of being able to read stuff and even get the ball out quick, he was just kind of walked in on one guy. So I think that's where the pressure sort of really got to him, was after that, once that first read is gone, he was like, oh, crap, what do I do? And by that time, he's on the ground. So I think the pressure just sped him up so much.
Scott says, happy birthday, sir. I hope you have a nice one. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I wish I was living in Florida. That's the only thing I don't like about my birthday. I love my birth month. I identify with it. I love history. I love football. And those are both staples of the month of February with the Super Bowl and Black History Month and History Month in general with President's Day. But unfortunately, I live in New England, and the weather sucks this time of year. I love New England, but I don't like the weather this time of year. But thanks, man. I appreciate it. Big 5-1 for me tomorrow. I'm old. Scott follows back up and says, we love Tom, but we're going to have to take the statue down now. We talked a little bit about this the other day. Obviously, beginning of last week, he says he has no dog in the fight. Then he retracts by the end of the week, starts posting these awkward pictures, telling Kraft, go win number 7 so you can be like me. And good luck to my good friend Mike Vrabel. It was a weird week for Tom Brady to say the least. And then apparently he and Alex Earl were spotted at a Super Bowl party after the game on Sunday night getting cozy. I know you're big into pop culture, so I figured you wanted to know that. Yeah, weird week for Tom Brady. TB12, I don't think had the best of weeks last week.
Weird week for the franchise, right? Like before the game, you have Adam Vinatieri make the Hall of Fame. Josh
Yeah.
McDaniels gets
That's a good point, by the way, that it was a weird week for the franchise.
Josh gets assistant coach of the year. Vrabel is coach of the year.
No. Say it right.
What?
Verbal.
Then you have Brady not back the Patriots.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
corporate Tom Brady, his alter ego, corporate Tom Brady said, no backing the Patriots this week.
Belichick and Kraft are not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Jordan Hudson wears the shirts you wore. Like, what a fucking week for that franchise.
Did you just swear?
I did.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is a family show, but kids shouldn't be up at 9:56 at night. So it's all good. We're not bleeping anything here at New England Football Journal and the New England Football Show.
In terms of Brady, that's just ridiculous. Like I said this to you the other day, you were here for 20 years. You just got a statue. Even if you have to lie. You know what I mean? Like, it's not hard.
You know my feelings on that, and I said it. I wasn't bothered by it primarily because I know what he is.
Well, the owner thing, yeah.
I love Tom Brady. He's one of my two favorite Boston athletes. I only have two of them, him and Larry Bird. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I know what he's become, and he became that when he was here. He's too corporate, part owner of the Raiders now, national broadcaster. He can't be bothered. Is it disappointing? Yes. The fan in me is disappointed because I get it. You own another team in the league. You're a broadcaster. You have to be unbiased. You can't be impartial. But there was a way he could have crafted a statement or a response where he could have supported the Patriots and been impartial. He chose not to. Instead, he took the easy way out. I don't have a dog in the fight, blah, blah, blah. And then, again, he awkwardly later in the week, and I think a lot of it, by the way, was a byproduct of his ex-teammates basically coming out and calling him out. You know, whether it's Vince Wilfork, Edelman openly supporting the Patriots, Gronk openly supporting the Patriots, which, by the way, Gronk, to his credit, it didn't end well here with him and Bill Belichick. And he went to Tampa and he won the Super Bowl. But Rob Gronkowski has been an unabashed Patriot supporter. He's come back to the organization. He still lives here in Foxborough, still has the house by the stadium. Like, he is a Patriot. He will tell you, I'm a Patriot for life. Yeah, I went down to Tampa and won a Super Bowl, and that was awesome. But I'm always going to be a New England Patriot. I'm going to go into the Hall of Fame a New England Patriot. I don't get – it is hard for me, even though I think Patriot fans overreacted to what he said. It's still hard for me, though, to not look at this and say, dude, it wasn't that hard. You made it harder than it needed to be.
Oh, the Gronk thing, I love it because it's sincere. Like when he came back and signed that 1-year contract this year, you could tell the joy he had in that. So I love everything about that.
Yeah, he's always been proud to be a Patriot, and it's great to see, man. It's great to see that those guys. I mean, I was honored to cover the Patriots Hall of Fame because you know my love for Bill Parcells.
Yep.
He's my coaching idol. I modeled a little bit of my coaching style after him. Both big guys, loud. But getting the chance to talk to Julian Edelman after he was inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame and asking him point blank, I said to him, why did it mean so much to you to only play with the Patriots? And he gave me an unbelievable response in which he said, look, I grew up a 49ers fan. And when Jerry Rice left, I was like, what the heck? So I didn't want to be that guy, basically. I didn't want to be the guy that was remembered for playing for multiple teams. So it meant something, and he had established roots here, and it meant something to him to stay here. So I love that those guys have embraced their past and that they see themselves as Patriots.
And it's worth noting, I absolutely love the fact that Vinatieri is now back in the fold with this organization.
Yeah.
It's long overdue.
It is, and he's another one that didn't leave on the greatest of terms.
No,
Belichick didn't want to pay him. He goes to Indianapolis, wins another Super Bowl, adds to his legacy. But for me, the only thing I'll say with him, he'll always be a Patriot to me because of the kicks, the big kicks, obviously the snow game, the Rams kick, the Carolina kick. He'll always be a Patriot to me for that reason. But it's hard not to also see him as a Colt because he played more years in Indianapolis than he did in New England. So It,
Yeah,
but I like that he knows where his legacy was made.
what I was gonna say, if you notice when they put the graphics up now, last weekend, whenever they showed him or the Hall of Fame thing or whatever, it was always him as a Patriot, never as a Colt. So I think that's just interesting. But especially I saw him at the AFC Championship rally in Denver when he was the honorary captain, and obviously you heard the roar on Sunday when they acknowledged the Hall of Famers from all the Patriots fans in the crowd in San Fran. So it's long overdue that he's sort of a focal point and back in the organization again. It's
Yeah.
so good to see.
Well, it's going to be a Patriot run now, obviously.
Oh
Vinatieri
yeah,
this year, next year, at least Kraft and or Belichick. The following year, Brady and Kraft and or Belichick. And you're going to see now the Gronk is also up next year. So potentially next year, you could see Gronk. This is how I think. Now, I don't know if it plays out like this because of the backlash of Belichick not getting in. But over the course of the next 2 years, you could see Gronk next year. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I think he's the greatest tight end of all time. You could see Gronk getting in next year with either Belichick or Kraft. I could see it being Gronk and Belichick, which would be ironic considering how it ended here. And then in 2 years, Kraft and Brady. I could see that. And then, there's a couple of other guys that'll obviously be in the mix. Devin McCourty comes to mind.
I think Vince Wilfork should be in there too.
Vince Wilfork, Rodney Harrison,
Rodney
obviously.
should have been in long ago.
I'll give you the name of a guy that I think a lot of people would scoff at, but I think Dante Hightower should be in that conversation. People forget how good a player High was, especially during those Super Bowl runs they had from 16 to 18. He was tremendous, changed the complexion of games with his play. So I don't think he gets in right away, but certainly another guy from the second half of the dynasty to keep an eye on. Scott asks, what was Jordan wearing? Asian Orchids of Asia t-shirt. Remember, that was the massage place that Mr. Kraft was visiting when he had his issue.
If you're Belichick, you just had so many people backing you last week. Why would you let her wear that?
Right. Well, if you're Belichick, the bigger question is, why the hell are you still dating her?
Well, sure.
I mean, she's clearly a mooch that's with you for your money. It's not. Look,
but after all
I love Bill Belichick and what he did for the Patriots at football in New England. I think he is arguably the greatest coach in NFL history. I feel that it's a privilege that we got to cover him in our careers. I got to cover him a little bit at the beginning of the dynasty and then at the end. But she's not dating him for his looks. With all due respect, he's in his mid-70s. He's not a good-looking man. She's not dating him for his looks, okay?
No,
we all know why she's dating him. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. All your players came to your defense. You've been getting good PR. It's been taking away attention from the shit show season you had at North Carolina. And then you let your ditzy girlfriend wear the Orchids of Asia t-shirt. Like, come on, get a life.
Yeah,
enough with the pettiness.
It's just such a waste of everything that went your way last week. And now he is the first football game of the season. You know that, right? UNC kicks off the college football season this year. So all the attention is going to be on him bright and early this summer.
Yep. Scott says, good point, Stone, with Adam being back in the fold. He was such a big part to your point. Kind of like Fisk playing for the White Sox longer than the Red Sox. That's a very good point. Am I correct on that? I believe you are. He did play in Chicago.
Know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think he played for the White Sox longer. I know for a fact he did. He's known more, in my opinion. I know people remember the home run in 75, but he's known more as a Chicago White Sox than he is a Boston Red Sox. Again, people revere him up here because he's a New England guy and he hit the home run. But when you look at his career, for me, like I said, I'm going to be 51 tomorrow. I remember watching him when I was a kid. I remember him more for his time with the White Sox and the Red Sox. I never saw him play with the Red Sox. So there you go. All right. Final thoughts here, Kevon Stone, before we wrap it up.
Just an unreal week. So cool.
Here we go. Stone's going to talk about himself again. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying for both of us. Legitimately a dream come true. Like it sounds cliche, but it was. But no, you're right. We're on to the draft and the combine. Look, BC spring ball starts in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Play 3.5. They start March 10th. And as you all know,
about a month from now. Well, technically a month from today.
And as you all know, I'll be living in Chestnut Hill when that happens. So football, all football all the time, as John says. And Truly appreciate everybody's support with all the Patriot stuff this year. And we obviously should thank them as well.
Yeah.
They were incredible and were part of why this season was so memorable too. So thank you to Stacy and Aaron and Stephanie and Julia, Badi. I think that's all of them.
Griff, don't forget our boy Griff.
Yeah, Jesus. Thank you.
And a lot of other people. And I emailed Stacy and his staff tonight just to say thanks. And I don't think people realize the amount of work and time that goes into being a part of that communications community. That the hours and the time that they put in, that the constant releasing of information and they make our jobs easier. And we can't thank them enough. And they're such professionals. They're so good to us. And I will say this, and it meant a lot to me when I lost my mom in August, how they were so supportive of me and us. And that meant a lot. And I think it says a lot about Stacy and his team and the kind of people that work in the Patriots organization. And of course, I can't say enough about Mike Vrabel and him passing along his condolences to me in person. And it speaks to the kind of person Vrabes is and the kind of coach he is. And I know people will say, hey, listen, there's a fine line there. You're there to cover the team, not to be friendly with the team or anything else. Listen to me. I've been in this business a long time as a coach, in media. I've done it all in this business except coach or work in the NFL and win a Super Bowl. And I can tell you this much, okay? It's still a people business. Relationships matter. Being good to people matters. Yeah, we have a job to do in this industry. We have a job to cover the team. And guess what? It might not be as easy next year. They may not win as many games next year. There'll be more bumps in the road. Vrabel might not be as good with us as he was this year because of a variety of reasons. But the bottom line is you can be professional and still be personal. And personal means respecting people, respecting what they do, and working together to make the product the best version that it can be. So in my view, I think a lot of that goes to the communication team. They are tremendous. They make our lives easier. And I'm glad that we both got the opportunity to not only thank Coach Vrabel this weekend, but to thank them as well today. So one last comment here. Scott checks in. He says, are you pooping me? She wore that. These people are whack. She is the one giving happy endings to our old coach. Between that and profiling, what a show tonight. What a show.
Unreal. But no, truly thank you to them. And again, thank you for everyone for the support this year with the Patriot stuff, but it's now on to 2026.
Yeah, and as I say all the time, there's a lot of quality coverage out there. There's a lot of great outlets in our market that do tremendous work with the Patriots. All we've ever asked is give us a look, give us a shot. I think you'll like what you see. We want to give you a different perspective. And if you take all these perspectives, it makes you a better fan, a more knowledgeable fan, and certainly it helps you experience the Patriots in a different way. So we really do appreciate the support. It was an awesome season. It was a privilege to cover the New England Patriots, and we're excited about the offseason and eventually the season. Let's not rush that. Time stands still for no one. And trust me, maybe I'm getting a little, I'm waxing poetically here because I'm turning another year older tomorrow. But when you start to get to this age, man, and you'll realize this eventually, Stone, you're 37 going on 38, you start to appreciate the years even more, and you don't want to rush them. So, good stuff tonight as always. Kevin, thank you for taking the time, man. Appreciate it. Good to have you back on the show after your long hiatus of 3 weeks, I believe. But now you're back.
2 out of 3 weeks.
That's right. The fact that you took 2 plane rides is remarkable to me, to 2 different places, considering you had only been on 2 plane rides your whole life up until that point. That's impressive, man. Good for you. Yeah. No, but great stuff as always this year, Kevin. I know that, you're on top of things. You're always up there, always delivering content for us, doing a good job. And I know that, I appreciate it, and I know that the fans appreciate it. So great job as always with the Patriots coverage this year, man.
Thank you as always, Ben.
All right, brother. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the New England Football Show. For Kevin Stone, I'm John Sarianides. We will be back with you next week. Until then, have a great week. Have a safe week. And as always,